Today, I am going to show you some numerical examples on transformers. We have done a few in the past as well, but today we will get into other aspects also. Three most important performance parameters of transformers are voltage regulation, power efficiency, and all-day efficiency. Okay. Voltage regulation is quite straightforward. It is the magnitude of the output voltage, which is the secondary voltage, at no load minus magnitude of the same at full load, the entire thing divided by magnitude of the output voltage at full load, and then you multiply the result by 100 to get the answer in percentage. This problem number one here, is an example of that. It's a very straightforward calculation. At no load in the output, 215 at full load. So the difference is 15 volt. You divide that by 215, not by 230. And multiply the result by 100 to get the answer. Okay. Problem 2 says the primary of a single phase transformer takes 1 ampere. They are giving only magnitude, but they are also giving you the power factor. When connected to a 240 volt 50 hertz supply and the secondary is open circuited, nothing is connected to the secondary winding. I have told you in the past that even if nothing is connected to the secondary winding, the core still needs energy to keep the transformer going. So some current would still be drawn from the primary terminals. We call it no load current or magnetizing current, so many words for it. So that is what they are mentioning here, that nothing is being connected to the output terminals, that is the secondary terminals, yet a small current of 1 ampere at a power factor of 0.4. They are not mentioning whether power factor is lagging or leading. Probably we don't need that information, but we are connecting the primary to a 240 volt 50 hertz supply, and we are measuring the primary current as 1 ampere with 0.4 power factor. This is the first part. In the second part, we connect a load to the secondary, which carries 50 ampere current at a lagging power factor of 0.8. Okay. There are two different scenarios here. So they are asking in the second case, what will be the primary current? The question says neglect the voltage drops in the transformer. That means in the equivalent circuit, you can assume that primary winding resistance is 0. Primary winding inductance is also 0. And the same thing applies to secondary winding parameters RS and XS also. Okay. Now, first of all, last time we discussed the equivalent circuit of a lossy transformer in detail. We are using it now. The parallel circuit represents the behavior of the core. At no load, there is no secondary current, so IS is 0. And ES and VS will be the same. Okay. The turns ratio is 2. number of turns on the primary is twice that on the secondary. So EP would be 2 times ES, right? Anyway, the point is IP prime will not be there because IS is 0. So the primary current of the lossless transformer that is shown in the middle will not be there. However, the core would still draw a current which I am showing as I0. So the current IP being drawn by the primary is same as current I0, the core current. And the formula for IP or I0 in this case is simple enough. VP divided by, because RP and XP are 0, so VP divided by the impedance of the parallel circuit. And impedance of the parallel circuit is simple enough. I'm calling it Z0. It would be JX0 R0 divided by R0 plus JX, right? Now I0 is given as 1 ampere with a power factor of 0.4. So I'm taking the corresponding angle minus phi0. Why minus? Because it's an inductive circuit. The current will lag for sure. The value of Z0 can be computed based on equation 3. I multiply numerator and denominator by R0 minus JX0 and simplify the result as shown here. Okay, it's a straightforward calculation. The magnitude of Z0 turns out to be given by equation 5. R0 X0 divided by square root of R0 square plus X0 square. And phi naught turns out to be tan inverse X0 divided by R0. Minus sign is already included in the definition of I0. So we know that cos phi naught is 0.4 in this case. So phi naught will be cos inverse of 0.4, which is around 66.42 degrees. And tan phi naught can be calculated as 2.2911. So equation 6 gives you X0 equal to R0 tan phi naught, which becomes 2.2911 R0. And the magnitude of Z0, obviously, because you are supplying 240 volt in the no load case, and you are having 1 ampere current, so magnitude of Z0 will be 240 ohms. So I write equation 10 and 11. What I'm trying to do here is I'm experimentally determining the equivalent circuit parameters of the core. No load test is what is the name for this kind of situation. When you connect nothing to the secondary and you measure the input current. This is an experimental method of measuring course parameters R0 and X0. That's what they are doing in this problem. Okay. Now 10 and 11 can be solved to get the core parameters, although they are not asking for them, but I did it anyway. You can use equation 10 in equation 11 and solve the resulting equation to get R0. Double check my calculation later. R0 turns out to be 261.87 ohm approximately. X0 turns out to be almost 600 ohms. Corresponding L0 will be 600 divided by 2 pi f. The actual value is 599.47. I can see that. Yeah. These are approximate calculations anyway. So point is that you are able to determine X0 and R0, although they are not asking for it. This is no load case so far. Theories apart, we try to figure out a lot of equivalent circuit parameters in the transformer experimentally. And this is one method for figuring out L naught and R naught. Now under loaded conditions, what happens? Now the current is given as 50 amperes and the power factor is lagging and the value is 0.8. So cos inverse of 0.8 and with minus sign gives you minus 36.87 degrees. So the complex value of load current in the second case is 50 minus 36.87 degrees. It's RMS value. Turns ratio is 2. We have seen that. Secondary current converted to rectangular form becomes 40 minus J30 amperes. Primary current will be IS divided by A. It's not primary current exactly. It is actually the current going into primary after the course behavior has been included. IP prime is what we are calculating as IS divided by small a. Okay, so IP prime is 20 minus J15 amperes, which in the polar form becomes 25 amperes with minus 36.87 degree angle. Now the total current drawn by the primary would be summation of I naught and IP prime. I naught will not change because core doesn't change its loading, etc., with changes in the secondary current. Okay. So we would assume the same I naught in the second case also. We have done the calculation. It is 1 ampere with minus 66.42 degree angle, which converts to 0.4 minus J 0.9165 ampere approximately. So now you add IP prime and I naught to get the total IP. This is the final answer. .88 amperes almost, and the angle is almost minus 37.96 degree amperes. Okay. The next one, a single phase 50 hertz transformer has 100 turns on the primary. Primary winding has 100 turns and 400 turns on the secondary. It is a step up type of transformer. The net cross-sectional area of the core is 250 centimeters square. Net means we are, see, when magnetization is happening in the core, some of the flux may be leaked out to nearby atmosphere or even to other parts of the construction. So they use the word net to take care of that problem. The physical area of the core may be a little more than the net area. So, but anyway, they are giving you net area, which is the one we use in the formula. So net area is 250 centimeters square. If the primary winding is connected to a 50 hertz 230 volt supply, calculate A, the EMF induced in the secondary winding, and B, the maximum value of the flux density in the core. This is the calculation that something similar to this we have done in the past. So it's not conceptually a new thing that we are looking at. We use the well-known formula for EP and ES. EP is pi multiplied by square root of 2 small f NP BMA and you know that pi multiplied by square root 2 is almost 4.4429. We can use that number also, otherwise pi multiplied by square root 2 is also okay. So here I plug in all the values. And we will assume an ideal transformer because nothing is given about losses. And I calculate the flux density in the core. Okay. That is what they wanted as part B. I have done part B first. Okay. Part A is very simple anyway. It is simply the turns ratio that would come into the picture. It's a lossless case. So you simply, it's a step-up transformer. So you multiply the input EMF by 4 to get the output EMF. Or you could use the formula ES equal to something pi square root of 2 F NS BMA and use the BM value that we have calculated. But I think more straightforward is to use the turns ratio directly. Next one, wait a minute. In a 50 kVA, 11 kilovolt, 400 volt single phase transformer. This is the nameplate information. kVA is given, primary voltage is 11 kilo, rated voltage. It doesn't have to be 11 kilovolt all the time. I want you to be aware of that. 400 volt is the secondary recommended voltage. It doesn't have to be that all the time. Depending on the load, these voltages will change a little bit. Even primary and secondary currents will continuously change depending on how much load you are applying to the secondary. But these are nominal values. Okay. It has iron loss of 500 watt and copper loss of 600 watt under rated conditions. That means primary voltage is 11 kilovolt and secondary voltage is 400 volt, and you can calculate the primary and secondary currents based on kVA and primary and secondary voltages. If power factor is not given, you assume 1. If it is given, you take that into account. Now the question says, that's fine. We are given the two losses. Calculate the efficiency at unity power factor at full load. So power factor is given as 1. Part 2, the load for maximum efficiency. You know that maximum efficiency occurs when iron loss and copper loss are equal to each other. So we will take advantage of that. And third is the iron and copper loss for the load in part 2. You don't need equivalent circuit here. Efficiency is output power divided by input power, right? Under rated conditions, input power will be simply kVA in watts, of course, because power factor is 1. The input power is 50 watt. The total loss is 500 watt plus 600 watt, 1100 watt. So from the input power, that much will be subtracted to get the output power. And then you take the ratio of the two powers and multiply by 100 to get the efficiency in percentage. No need for equivalent circuit here. Now in the second part, they are saying calculate the load for maximum efficiency. When they say load, they mean the secondary current. Now we know that for eta equal to eta max, P copper equal to P iron. That means P iron, by the way, will not change with load. It will remain as 500 watt. So P copper should also come down to 500 watt for maximum efficiency. Total loss, of course, will also come down to 100 watt. 1000 watt. And P output will be P in minus 1000 watt. Now, how do you calculate the load at which this is occurring? Copper loss has gone down from 600 watt in the previous case to 500 watt in the current case. And you know that copper loss is proportional to the current square, magnitude of the current squared. So copper loss has gone down. That means both primary and secondary currents will also go down by square root of 500 divided by 600, which is around 0.9129. So the new KVA that the transformer will be operating at will be 50 multiplied by this new current value. Both the currents have gone down by this factor, 0.9129. So KVA will also go down by the same factor. It would become, we are assuming same voltages in this operation. So 50 multiplied by 0.9129 gives you 45.64. That's the new rating. They are defining load in terms of new KVA. Okay. Now the last part, of course, is very straightforward. The iron and copper losses for this new load. Obviously, we know that they will be equal and each of them will be 500 watts. Okay. Next one. Very simple question actually. You know that EMF equation has NP and NS in it. So if you divide EMF by NP or NS, you get EMF per turn. And they are giving you that value here. EMF per turn for a single phase 2200 220 volt 50 hertz transformer is approximately 12 volt. Calculate the number of primary and secondary turns. It's very straightforward. Take the primary voltage, divide by 12 to get NP. Take the secondary voltage, divide by 220 to get NS. Okay, no big issue here at all. Next one. A transformer on no load has a core loss of 50 watt and flows a current of 2 ampere RMS. It has an induced EMF of 230 volt RMS. Neglect winding resistance and leakage flux and calculate the no load power factor, core loss current and magnetizing current. What is core loss current and what is magnetizing current? Let me tell you once again. In the equivalent circuit, the current flowing through R0, R0 is core loss current, and the current flowing through JX0 is the core magnetizing current. Okay. Let's see how we figure this out. Core loss of 50 watt. That means through R0, the loss is 50 watt. But let's say the current through R0, whatever value it is, that squared multiplied by the value of R0 will give you 50 watt. Okay. We will assume that windings have no losses. That is going to make it slightly simple. Now 50 watt is the value of P. If you draw the power triangle, the value of P is 50 watt. On the inductive side, you will have the reactive power in the core. It's a parallel circuit of R and L. L will consume only reactive power. It will not consume actually, it will have reactive power. So the simplest method will be to draw the power triangle. Okay. You are given the total current magnitude flowing in the core. And you know that the voltage applied is 230 volt, assuming that losses are negligible in the windings. So 230 multiplied by 2 gives you the magnitude of the complex power in VA. That is called apparent power. You know magnitude of S, you know P, so Q should be straightforward. In fact, the angle phi naught can also be calculated very easily. Once we have the two sides of the triangle, the third side as well as the angle are easy enough to figure out. Phi naught is cos inverse P divided by magnitude of S. From there you calculate cos phi naught, which is the power factor. The answer is straightforward, 0.1087. We don't have to actually worry about calculating actual currents, etc. You can go straight to the complex power concept and do the power factor calculation. I could have done it in different ways also, but this is probably the simplest technique to follow. Okay. I'm showing the currents here. Now the total current, actually I'm calling IW as the current through R naught and I mu as the current through X naught and total current in the core as I naught. These are my notations. So based on that, you can see that the total current can also be calculated. Once you figure out current through R naught, current through X naught is also easy to figure out because you know phi naught value. And then you sum up the two to get the total current flowing through the core. Okay. Phi naught, by the way, you can check out, will be 83.8 degrees almost. Anyway, they want only the individual currents. They don't want the total. So fine. I mu is simply I naught. Total we know anyway is 2 amperes. If your calculations are right, the total will turn out to be 2 amperes with some angle, of course. Next one, a 25 kVA transformer has 500 turns on the primary and 50 turns on the secondary. It is a step-down transformer. The primary is connected to 3000 volt 50 hertz supply. Calculate the current rating for primary and secondary windings. This should be simple. 25 kVA divided by 3000 volt will give you the current rating for primary. And you know the turns ratio as 10. So the secondary windings rated voltage will be 300 volts. So you divide 25 kVA by 300 volts, you get the secondary current rating. And they want maximum flux in the core. That is the second part. Let's see how we do that. Turns ratio is 10. IP is simply 25,000 divided by 3,000. 8.33 amperes, I think, is the correct answer. IS will be 10 times that. So these are the ratings for current for in primary and secondary based on kVA and the nominal voltages. Now, maximum flux in the core, again we go back to that famous equation. We assume that windings have no losses. So primary EMF is same as primary applied voltage and secondary EMF is same as secondary voltage. We can choose one of the equations. I'm choosing the secondary winding. I know that ES is same as VS, it is 300 volts. And then I use the equation. Instead of pi multiplied by square root of 2, I'm using 4.4429. Fine, that's okay. Frequency is given, NS is given. I simply do the calculations. The maximum value of flux in the core turns out to be given here. Okay. And of course, the secondary EMF is simple. You know the turns ratio. So it would be 300 volts for sure. Two more problems to go. A single phase 50 hertz transformer is required to step down from 2200 volt to 250 volt. So you know the turns ratio already, 2200 divided by 250. The maximum flux in the core is so much, 0.0216 Weber. Calculate the number of turns in the primary and secondary windings and the turns ratio. Part B is simple anyway. Part A, you will require that equation again. Do the calculations. I'm sure you can figure out number of turns in primary and secondary very easily because you know both the EMFs. The golden rule is if you are given nothing about losses in the winding, assume they are not there. And if you are given nothing about the core, assume that core losses are negligible. Whatever is not given, you assume it's not important. That's the way we work in machines, in electrical machines at least. Turns ratio is obviously NP by NS or VP by VS. It's 8.8 almost. Ideal transformer, next one. 2400 primary voltage, 120 volt secondary voltage, 9.6 kVA. So primary current and secondary current recommended values can be easily calculated. 50 turns on the secondary side. Turns ratio is very straightforward. 2400 divided by 120, whatever it is. I think it's 20. Okay. Number of turns on the primary side, that's also straightforward. You know secondary turns, so primary side will have 20 times that. The current ratings for the primary and secondary windings. I hope by now you are conversant with all this. Simply divide the kVA value by rated primary and secondary voltages. A is 20, NP is 1000, IP will be 9600 divided by 2400, which is around 4 amperes. IS will be 9600 divided by 120, which is about 80 amperes. Simple answer. I think this is the last one. A single phase transformer has 400 primary and 1000 secondary turns. It's a step up. This primary is connected to a 520 volt 50 hertz supply. Calculate turns ratio, which is very easy anyway. 400 divided by 1000, which is 0.4. And calculate the voltage induced in the secondary winding. They are saying voltage. What they mean is EMF, assuming that windings have no losses. Very simple calculation. A is 0.4. VS obviously is, it is step up case. So VS would be higher than VP. VP is 520 volts. So multiply that by 0.4 raised to the power minus 1. I made a mistake. That's why you see that minus 1 sign on the top. So VS will be higher. It is 1300 volts. And actually, I have not solved. What else did they want? Oh yeah, they want nothing else. So I have solved everything. Now let's move to something else conceptually. Besides the so-called commercial efficiency, which I have been calling power efficiency, which is defined as output power upon input power. There's a second kind of efficiency. You can read this carefully. The ordinary or commercial efficiency of a transformer is defined as the ratio of output power to the input power. Fair enough. There are certain types of transformers whose performance cannot be judged by this efficiency. For instance, distribution transformers used for supplying lighting loads have their primaries energized all the 24 hours in a day, but the secondaries supply little or no load during the major portion of the day. Lights are not on all the time, you know. So in distribution transformers, energy output over a 24-hour period is more important than the actual power output versus power input ratio. That's what they're telling you here. It means that a constant loss, that is iron loss, occurs during the whole day. Iron loss doesn't change. It will keep occurring throughout the day, even if nothing is connected to the secondary. But copper loss occurs only when the transformer is loaded. And the copper loss would depend on the magnitude of the load, which means the magnitude of the secondary current and power factor, of course. Actually, no, the loss will not depend on power factor, but many other things will. Consequently, the copper loss varies considerably during the day, and the commercial efficiency of such transformers will vary from a low value or even zero, because in some cases there will be no power drawn, so it will be zero efficiency. So the commercial efficiency will vary from a very small value to very high value throughout the day. The performance of such transformers is judged on the basis of energy consumption during the whole day. This is known as all-day or energy efficiency. It can also be calculated in percentage by multiplying this result by 100. And of course, generally, if power efficiency or commercial efficiency is bad, all-day efficiency would also be bad. But they are not equal to each other, that's for sure. And if power efficiency is good, then all-day efficiency would also generally be good. All-day efficiency is of special importance for those transformers whose primaries are never open circuited, but the secondaries carry little or no load much of the time during the day. In the design of such transformers, efforts should be made to reduce the iron losses, because iron losses are occurring throughout the day. You try your best to reduce them to improve the all-day efficiency. Now there is a problem here. I don't know how much time we have got. I'll probably revisit this next time also. But at least look at the statement carefully. This is how all-day efficiency problems are posed to you. A 400 kVA distribution transformer has full load iron loss of 2.5 kilowatt. That means it will be same for all loads. Iron loss will not change with load. And a copper loss of 3.5 kilowatt, that is full load. For other loads, it will change based on the square of the current. During a full day, the load cycle age, for 6 hours, the secondary is drawing 300 kilowatts at 0.8 power factor. They are not measuring lagging or leading. Probably we don't need that information. For 10 hours, it is drawing 200 kilowatt at 0.7 power factor. See, the power factor is bad in some cases. 0.7 is bad. 0.8 is almost acceptable. Then for 4 hours, it is drawing 100 kilowatt at 0.9 power factor, which is a good power factor. And 4 hours are open. Nothing is connected. This is how the total 24-hour cycle is for a particular transformer. Determine the all-day efficiency. The idea is simple. You calculate the total energy output during this 24-hour period. For each of the time periods, you do the calculation separately. Then you calculate the total losses by doing the calculation for each of the time periods separately and then summing up the result. And then you add the total energy loss to the total energy output for the 24-hour period to get the total energy input. And then you take the ratio. This is what he has done here. It's not my document. I've taken it from somewhere. PI, I call it P iron. He's calling it PI, which is fine. It's 2.5 kilowatt. P copper at full load is 3.5 kilowatt. KVA rating is 400 kVA, 400 kVA of course. Iron losses are constant for 24 hours. So energy spent due to iron losses, let's talk losses first. Okay. Iron losses will be the kilowatt value multiplied by 24 hours to give you kilowatt hour. We don't talk joules when calculating commercial efficiency or all-day efficiency. Normally we use kilowatt hour unit. This is the iron loss in energy for the 24-hour period, 60 kilowatt hour. Now, total energy output in this period, we'll come to copper loss later. For 6 hours, you are drawing 300 kilowatt at 0.8 power factor. 300 kilowatt multiplied by 6 hours is the energy output in that period. Forget power factor for now. For 10 hours, you are drawing 200 kilowatt. So 200 kilowatt multiplied by 10 will give you the second energy consumption. For 4 hours, you are drawing 100 kilowatt. So 100 multiplied by 4 gives you the third energy consumption. And the fourth one is 0. Nothing is connected in those 4 hours. So you sum up these values, you get the total energy output in a 24-hour period. 4200 kilowatt hour. I hope there is no calculation mistake. Most likely there is none. Now let's talk about total copper loss in this period. He has used this technique. He has taken the kilowatt value and divided it by the power factor. I could use some other methods also. I'll show you next time. But let's stick to this method for now. kVA is kW divided by cos phi, which is true actually. Apparent power is kVA supplied multiplied by cos phi gives you P. That's what they're doing here. So kVA supplied in the first time period is 375, and the efficiency is this kVA divided by the rated kVA, which is 0.9375. Now kVA has gone down from 400 to 375. So that means currents have gone down by that factor. Take the square of that factor and multiply by the full load value of the copper loss to get the actual copper loss in this 6-hour period. And then you multiply that value by the time period, which is 6 hours, to get the total copper loss energy, total energy loss due to copper loss in that period. I'll come back to this problem next time, okay, don't worry. And then he repeats it for the other time periods also and sums up the results. It's a long problem, we'll do it next time again. And then he calculates the total output, which we have already done, divided by total output plus total energy loss. And the answer turns out to be 97.93%. If you were to check the commercial efficiency, it would have had a different number, depending on which time period you are looking at. In the last 4 hours, the commercial efficiency or power efficiency would be 0, right? So this is how these calculations are done.